So do you enjoy the content here on Thoughtful Faith? If so, be sure to hit the notification bell. This ensures that our new videos show up on your feed. Also, be sure to check out our Facebook group called Thoughtful Saints, where myself and others discuss the sorts of topics found on this channel. And lastly, if you think other people would benefit from this video, please be sure to share it. Hey guys, so before we get into today's video, I wanted to recommend everyone check out the Saints Unscripted Faith and Belief videos. These videos do an excellent job of breaking down the controversial topics many church members struggle with or don't understand. David Snell is a legend.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to talk about the relationship between the Latter-day Saint Temple Endowment and Freemasonry. We've got no time to wait. All right, polygamy episode.
We're talking about some rather controversial issues having to do with race in the history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The content is great, faithful, detailed, and perfect for anyone who works with youth in the church. It's important that we discuss the hard issues in the church, and David's videos on Saints Unscripted are a great resource. So go to YouTube and search for Saints Unscripted, and then check out their Faith and Beliefs videos. You won't regret it. One objection people may have is that suffering and well-being are experienced subjectively. If by this they mean that suffering is a matter of perception, then yes, I agree. However, all of reality is ultimately a matter of subjective perception. Does this mean that all of reality itself is entirely subjective? Of course not. All perception is by definition subjective. But the question is if that perception is purely the creation of the mind, or if it is a reflection of an objective reality outside of the mind. On the other hand, if I say I like green, and you say that you like blue, these are not a description of a reality outside of one's head. They are merely statements of subjective preference. This is a critical distinction. Subjective perception is the way that we subjectively interpret a reality that exists outside of ourselves, which may or may not be accurate. However, subjective preference is purely a mental construct without a right or wrong answer, because it is not a description of anything in objective reality. To say that suffering is perceived by a subject is just to state the obvious, but there is a deeper question. Is suffering merely a matter of subjective preference, or is it part of our existence with the rich, multi-layered reality that we inhabit? Suffering and its opposite are arguably the most real thing that exists, as it literally makes up the ocean in which we swim as sentient beings. If you don't think so, then just go place your hand on a hot stove. The effects objectively exist neurologically, physiologically, psychologically, etc. Are we really going to act as though it was merely a subjective happening? No, we rightly say that you ought not put your hand on that stove because we know that burns and the suffering they cause are real, even if the experience of that objective reality come through your perceptions. What I am postulating in these videos is that a real basis for moral statements exist, and that makes them more than mere statements of preference. What I'm saying is that there is a rational basis for saying you ought to do X, rather than saying I prefer that you do X. Saying I prefer that you do X is an appeal to your arbitrary preferences. Morality, on the other hand, is an entirely different notion. It says that you ought to do X, and is an appeal to the objective reality of suffering and the inherent desire of all sane creatures to avoid their own suffering. But why is there so much disagreement about morality if we all desire to avoid our own suffering? Well, that is the subject of our next video.